This deep news story is about Jaime Harrison and the Democratic National Committee. Now, Jaime Harrison is the chairman of the Democratic National Committee, and their primary job right now is to organize the primaries for the Democratic Party. Now, in a way, President Biden is the boss of Jaime Harrison and the Democratic National Committee. The primaries are supposed to be open so anyone can challenge anyone for the nomination for the presidency on the Democratic side. But it seems to be that the Democratic National Committee, led by Jaime Harrison, is stacking the deck in favor of Joe Biden, making it almost impossible for anyone to challenge Joe Biden for the nomination. So what we're interested in with this particular deep news session is whether Jaime Harrison actually believes that Joe Biden is easily electable in 2024, or if he's just doing what he's supposed to do because his boss, Joe Biden, is telling him what to do. We're interested in whether he actually believes what he's doing, because the issue of age with Joe Biden is really absolutely a central issue, and we're just wondering if it's just something that Jaime Harrison is doing because he has to do it, or if he actually believes it. So let's dive in and see what Jaime Harrison actually thinks about with regard to the electability of Joe Biden. We're also interested in whether he and the Democratic National Committee are worried about a possible challenge with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. So that's of interest to us as well. All right, let's go.
For my first visual, I have a base surface with man-made and natural land. I have multiple surface structures here. It feels like an urban environment, and I have unpleasant smells as well, and kind of movement on the base surface, on the man-made land, a lot of movement on man-made land here. So zooming in here at one of these structures, I have a very large structure, multiple levels or multiple rooms, and around this structure I have kind of like circular movement. There's moderate foliage nearby this structure. It's still mostly man-made land here, urban environment. And I have movement of subjects, kind of a circular movement around this structure. And so I'm seeing, just in general, more movement of subjects outside of this structure rather than inside. So movement, like walking movement or movement, faster movement on man-made land. Next, I'm picking up a subject at this location. I'll call subject A, or A. So this is a male subject. I'm seeing brown complexion and some hair. The hair feels kind of thin. Deduction, maybe the subject is balding or has some bald areas, but kind of thin hair and a little chunky, like very soft, maybe squishy, flabby kind of face. So I'm not really seeing any facial hair on this subject, but I do see like some wrinkles and overall kind of round body shape for this subject. Like that. Kind of chunky. Yeah, so looking at the surrounding environment of this subject, I'm picking up some natural land, multiple other subjects, but the subjects here, a lot of them seem kind of thin or small, but overall I'm picking up like natural smells in a natural environment here. So next I'm going to move to, let's say, focus 1 and concern 1, which is regarding subject A, concern of subject A. So doing a deep mind probe here, subject A seems concerned with how he's perceived by other subjects here. I see also some type of, his thoughts seem financially motivated, or just subject A might have some financial decisions to make. And I also see him concerned with like safety or security in some way. So I'm on a scale of like 1 to 10. I'd say the importance of concern 1 for subject A is at like a 10. Is a very important concern for him. But also looking at the actual believability of this concern, I'd say from an outside perspective. So the believability I see only being around like a 3. So very important concern of subject A, but outside believability is very low. And I see, continuing the deep mind probe regarding that, is definitely the low believability is affecting how subject A makes his decisions. It seems like he's a little more cautious. This subject is not making any reckless decisions, like really thinking about multiple different outcomes for situations, like really planning out his decisions and his next moves. So continuing a deep mind probe of subject A, just to look more at his personality and just mindset. This subject A is very intelligent, but I also see him kind of like in a manic state, or just kind of really focusing on a lot of things at once. Subject A seems to have a very fluctuating mental state, like sometimes more manic, sometimes more calm, but it seems to fluctuate a lot for this subject. Subject A feels like a high energy subject, like can do a lot of maybe just multitasking, or a lot of, like, this is an approachable subject. I would feel okay around this subject. He's approachable, also a little nerdy. It seems like a subject that requires a routine, like he has to follow a routine. So kind of curious about this subject's career. Oh, hold up. Career. Ooh. So like I said, it feels very nerdy. I could see subject A being in something research related or something with like the social sciences. Some deductions I have for this subject, maybe like a teacher or something government related. But overall, I do see that subject A enjoys his current job. So I'm going to move on to concern 2. For subject A. And already I'm seeing subject A is giving a lot less attention to concern 2 rather than concern 1. It's possible, it feels like maybe there's a little denial here, like does not want to accept concern 2 or what goes along with it. It also feels like if subject A were to give more energy or attention to concern 2, it could have a negative impact on maybe his career or just personal stability for himself. Regarding concern 2, I could see that subject A would possibly be okay either way, like addressing it or not addressing it, but I'm also picking up like an external force that's preventing subject A from acting on this, or there's some lack of accessibility that subject A has to where currently it doesn't make sense for him to address concern 2. So this external force, I see it as like a separate group of subjects. I will call subjects E, and this is multiple subjects, so like a group of subjects E, and subject A's overall attitude or thoughts on this group E, I sense fear, a lack of confidence, some deductions, like maybe subject A is below them in terms of like a hierarchy, like subject A has to answer to them. And I just see him being very cautious around this group of subjects, like does not want to make any mistakes around them, does not want to upset this group of subjects. Yes, overall it feels like subject A kind of treads lightly around this group. Deduction possibly could be related to his career, like maybe it would negatively impact his career. So I'm going to do one more scale, 1 to 10. So how concerned is subject A regarding concern 2? I see him actually at around like a 6. So subject A is definitely bothered by concern 2. It's just I'm seeing a lack of accessibility, a lack of information. There's something subject A is lacking, I suspect due to subject E, that's preventing him from actually giving more to concern 2, but is definitely bothered by this concern. I'm picking up that subject A is just, at this point, has told himself not to get involved with concern 2, and deduction subject E, I feel like put that on him. Like subject A would be kind of out of his realm in like addressing concern 2.
All right, so Shantae, this is deep news, and this is a particularly interesting target because it's happening right now. The target had a focus with a subject and 2 concerns that you were supposed to go after. Now you'll find out what it's all about. And you did your session on video totally solo, right? So
Yes.
you don't know anything about the target now.
No
Okay.
idea.
Well, the target is, you probably don't even know this person, Yeme Harrison. Yeme Harrison is the head of the Democratic National Committee. That's the guy that's running the Democratic Party.
Oh.
And his boss is Joe Biden.
Okay.
Now, Yeme Harrison, it's during the most important meeting to determine the rules governing the 2024 primary season of the U.S. presidential election. Now, the background for this is that the Democratic National Committee has been trying to make it so that there's no primary, essentially, to make it impossible for anybody to run against him, against Joe Biden, because an incumbent president, stuff like that. But historically, there have always been challenges to incumbent presidents when it's there, so it's not unusual, but they're trying to make it impossible. So they're trying to, they have rules against, they're not counting the Iowa and the New Hampshire primaries, and Joe Biden's not even running. Joe Biden actually came in 4th in New Hampshire in 2020, so he might not even win New Hampshire. Anyway, they're sort of counting that out. But they've also said that they're trying to determine rules now to say that if anyone is even campaigning in a state like New Hampshire, then their votes in New Hampshire and actually Iowa go to Joe Biden. So this is like Banana Republic type stuff. Yeah, so, yeah. And that also they're debating rules that if someone campaigns in New Hampshire, then their votes in Georgia will go to Joe Biden, which is like, what? Yeah. So
that makes sense.
no, it doesn't make sense. But the big there's 2 candidates against Joe Biden, which is Marianne Williamson, and she can't get any coverage on the news at all. So the only thing she's doing to campaign is on TikTok. And apparently she has quite a following among young people on TikTok.
I'm sure.
But the other big one is Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
Mm-hmm.
And he's running a very vigorous campaign. And so you had 2 concerns. One was the concern 1 was President Biden's electability. So we were trying to figure out if Yeme Harrison actually believed that Joe Biden was okay, that he was going to be able to be all right, because he's so tremendously old.
Yes.
I mean, he doesn't even.
And that believability was low.
Yeah, and you said, and the believability of that, you had a scale. Let me see what your scale was. You had a scale on believability.
I put a 3.
Yeah,
on a
you
scale
said
of 1
3.
to 10, it was a 3.
A scale from 0 to 10, and he gave him a 3, which means he didn't believe what he was doing. So his boss is Joe Biden, so and your sketch of him on this paper session is perfect. He's a sort of a chubby African American guy,
Mm-hmm.
and that's exactly what you said. A round body shape. So, okay, and you gave him a. Okay, so the scale for believability was a 3.
Yes.
And 10 would have been high, 1 was extremely low, and a 3, meaning he just didn't believe too much in Joe Biden's electability as far as your data was concerned. So he was, he's doing what his boss is telling him to do, but he doesn't believe it. Okay, and then we had to go over to concern 2, which is concern 2 was Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Now, the amount of prejudice and bias against Robert F. Kennedy Jr. in the Democratic Party and the news media that is sort of a mouthpiece for the Democratic Party, such as CNN. The CNN used to be quite neutral parties, but that was before Donald Trump, before 2016. Ever since then, they've become really a Democratic mouthpiece. Anyway, but they don't cover Robert F. Kennedy at all, unless they want to say something that's really negative about him. And I've seen things that I just thought were amazing, that they were misrepresenting him, like right off the scale.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they had an opinion piece that was on CNN by Peter Bergen yesterday, and it was almost like I was wondering, gosh, if this was if Robert F. Kennedy was not a public figure, this would almost be libel. It was really quite like right off the scale. But you can't libel a public figure. You can say anything you want against a public figure, but private people, it's more. Anyway, but the stuff was just really crazy, and so that was concern number 2. What is Yeme Harrison concerned about Robert F. Kennedy? Meaning, is all of this effort to keep the votes away from away from Robert F. Kennedy, but going towards Joe Biden and changing the rules of the democratic process for the primaries, is that a result of Robert F. Kennedy? Meaning, are they afraid of Robert F. Kennedy? If you just look at CNN or look at the official mouthpiece, it looks like they're not even worried about Robert F. Kennedy. So we're trying to go into Yeme Harrison's mind and to find out if he is. And do you remember what you said?
For his concern, I had like a 6.
Yeah, you have a concern of 6. That's very high on a scale from 1 to 10. That means it's like it's not the supernova burner, but it's like
you can't completely ignore.
Yeah, you can't ignore him.
So.
Yeah. And subject A, which is Yeme Harrison, cannot give a focus to concern 2, which is Robert F. Kennedy, because it's one of his realm in over his head.
Is it like out of his realm?
It's out of his realm.
Like there's something preventing him from really being able to act.
So he's concerned and bothered, but he told himself not to get too involved. Yes. That's interesting.
Yeah.
He does want to give more concern to Robert F. Kennedy, but he cannot. Feels like subject A, which is Yeme Harrison, is going to be okay either way. Okay, so yeah, and then that was interesting. So it does appear that Yeme Harrison is fighting the good fight for Joe Biden, but he doesn't really believe it.
Yeah.
That's what it seems like. Okay, that's great.